Hi, and welcome to another edition of our Friday Night Lights Game of the Week digital preview show. I'm Jay Puskar alongside Mike Fenner. And Mike, we're going to change up the pace a little bit considering the regions have been decided for the most part and the postseason is on the horizon. We wanted to use this week as our chance to look back at the regular season. Of all your trips throughout the course of the 2 months, what game stood out to you the most?
I think, Jay, when you look at it, it's hard not to say Cathedral Prep and McDowell. I mean,
that was a good game.
That was an instant classic. You saw a couple teams that just, the passion was there. You love to see those two teams go at it. It was a 29-26 Cathedral Prep win in that game over the Trojans. It's a game that, even though it didn't count, between two teams of the same classification, 6A versus 4A, still within the region race, just all the anticipation for that game. You saw a lot of talent on the field. You saw a lot of great plays. That was a very close football game. The Trojans haven't won in that series since 2011, but that was a four-quarter true football game. They had the lead with about 5 minutes to go. Prep sneaks it out at the end. That was a really good game. That's the one that stands out to me for sure. What about you?
And it's so rare, too, because of the hype. It usually doesn't match up to it, and that was the case that it did for once. As you mentioned, it went all four quarters in that one. For me, I had the opportunity of catching it late, but Harbor Creek taking on Mercyhurst Prep at Saxon Stadium at the campus of Mercyhurst University. What a great atmosphere. Little did we know at the time that a touchdown early in that game for the Huskies proved to be the difference maker. Harbor Creek's defense has been outstanding all season long, and they were really tested on that particular night. They were able to contain Steve Smith. They didn't stop him, but they kept him out of the end zone, which was the most important thing, but they really did a great job playing defensive football, and they've been that way all season long. Offensively, they tend to get a slow start before they really get things amped up, but Harbor Creek has been a great team from start to finish, at least at this point in the season. They still have some unfinished business to take care of as the regular season comes to an end, but the atmosphere up there, the anticipation and just the goal line stances that defense had was just simply remarkable, and that really told me a lot about what this Husky team was all about this year.
Another great game, I think, early on in the season. A lot of people might have forgotten about this because it was so early in the year. Week 2, Fairview at Girard, another couple of backyard rivals going at it. It was a 27-26 final. The Tigers got the win at Battles Memorial Field. But this was a game where Fairview was leading by 15 points early in the first quarter, and Girard comes back. They score a couple touchdowns. A lot of people didn't think they were going to be able to get back in that game. Just you can kind of feel like the momentum wasn't with them whatsoever. They come back, and they had a 2-point conversion at the end with about 2 minutes to play where they made the decision, we're not going to go for the tie, we're going for the win, with all that momentum after the 2 touchdowns coming back, and Fairview gets a huge stop, and it was just a great atmosphere in week 2 of the season. One of the best games I covered as well this year. I thought that was a really, really fun game to be at.
And to this point, going into week 9, we still have some undefeated teams. We have mentioned how Harbor Creek has played this year. Prep was able to spoil McDowell's chance of going undefeated this year, but the likes of Oil City and Maplewood, I mean, there's some really good teams still playing out there that are looking to try to cap off the regular season with perfection.
Absolutely. Harbor Creek in the county, like you said, 8-0 and some unfinished business there, but the Tigers down there in Region 2 and then Oil City in Region 7. I remember being out there in preseason and they're talking about...
Seems like yesterday,
hey,
too.
Forget about the fact that we had Christian Cole, who had the first ever 3,000-yard rushing season in District 10. They said, well, I think our offensive line had a lot to do with that. We expect to be better. And I was like, how? I mean, not to call them out or anything, but I was very surprised and taken back that they said that, we expect to even have a more successful season. And here they are, 8-0 through the first 8 weeks, a region championship outright for the first time in this league makeup. And that's been an interesting region all season long. So both those teams and Harbor Creek has had really, really great storied seasons so far. No doubt about it.
And there's always some good feel-good stories, too, throughout the course of the regular season. What stood out for you?
I think you have to go back to Oil City with Cam Russell. We had the sportsmanship moment there in the 55-54 game against Du Bois 5 seconds to go after they pretty much win the game on the 2-point stop. And there's an injured Du Bois player, and Cam Russell out there on defense, it could be easy to go out there and celebrate after winning the game, all the emotions going into that stop, but he's there to try to help an injured opponent, help him off the field, and that just blew up, went viral all over social media. I thought that was a really good feel-good story there, and obviously great to see that kind of sportsmanship late in a game like that.
And of course, you did the nice feature on him and just being able to catch up with him. And he just seems like a very humble kid that wants to go out there and compete at the highest level, but also realize that, hey, we're all in this together. And he certainly exemplified that in that particular moment. At least for me, I have to say, at least from a feel-good story, from a team standpoint, Meadville Bulldogs. I mean, what a great turnaround for them this past season. They don't win a game last year at all. A lot of uncertainty going into 2019, and early on they were picking up some quality wins and really surprising some people. And even going back to the matchup against Oil City, that was a great contest where they were knocking on the door. A turnover late cost them a chance to pick up the victory and spoil Oil City's opportunity to stay undefeated. But just that turnaround is just wonderful to see, and I guess it just shows that season after season, there's always that expectation and that excitement when we go to training camp. Hey, last year was last year. We've got a new group of kids. We want to go out there and see what we can do. And Meadville certainly did that. So there's always hope and there's always optimism for all these programs. Unfortunately, we've seen some teams have to forfeit a week based on rosters and everything with the likes of Fairview or Seneca. But it still gives you hope that, hey, next year we're going to have a healthier roster. We're going to have a lot of playmakers, and who's not to say what could happen in the coming years or at least the coming weeks of a brand new season. So for me, Meadville football has been a nice feel-good story from a team standpoint.
You think about it, they got the great start at Mercyhurst Prep. They come out, they have a huge first half. They finished the job there. I think it was a 42-20 win. It was an unbelievable way to start the season. They have the dramatic win at General McLean a couple weeks later there early in the year. They had the close loss against Oil City. I mean, they had a lot of really good games early on, well tested, and kind of showed, hey, we're here. You know,
right.
We're here to stay, and we're back. And you know, Ray Collins, the head coach, talking about restoring the glory of the Bulldogs and you know, trying to regain that respect from last season. So I agree, that's a great team story, no doubt.
And Mike, we've got 2 more weeks, including week number 9, before we wrap up the regular season. What are you looking forward to the most as we get ready for postseason play?
I'm looking forward to seeing the big test between Cathedral Prep and Erie High. Obviously, a couple teams that are going to determine the outcome in the Region 8 race there. If Erie wins, it's a 3-way tie between Erie, McDowell, and Prep. And then if Prep wins, obviously they take care of the region there, both teams heading into their respective playoff battles. And obviously, hard not to look ahead to the next week with McDowell and Erie, 6A. You hope it's a better game this time around with the championship in District 10 on the line. The last couple of district championships between those two teams have been outstanding football games. So I think that is a really good place to start. But also I think the races in Region 6 and 7 with some of those teams fighting for playoff spots will be fun as well.
When it comes to the playoffs for myself, I just love the atmosphere, the anticipation. The real journey begins at that moment with the first round, or for teams that get that bye, have the opportunity that the quest for a state championship really begins after 2.5 months of football, training camp. It all starts come the end of October into November, so it is definitely an exciting time of year in high school football. Well, that does it for this edition of our Friday Night Lights Game of the Week digital preview show. For Mike Fenner, I'm Jay Puskar. We'll see you on Friday night for Friday Night Lights beginning at 11:15.